two conflicting estimates. Somebody is lying.
Oh. All right. I'm back with another one. I just started this streaming shit, so forgive me in the first like month or two because I'm just getting the technical aspects of it down with all this new software I'm learning. Being an old head and shit, I ain't like the youngins. Where they can just pick that shit right the fuck up. Okay, so let's see what we got. Okay, I used to mess with The Rising. I used to mess with this shit. Krystal, Saagar, and Jetty. Woo! But I know why I mess with them. Because I'm a sucker for anyone who will just say a kind word about Bernie Sanders. At least just treat him like a regular person. Whether you like him or not, just whatever. Just give him time to talk about his crazy socialist policies and his empathy and his SJW stuff. I don't know, whatever. But I do like Bernie, on the real. So I did mess with The Rising for that reason. But, you know, the more I watched it and, like, okay, shout out. I'm going to give, if y'all mess with Vaush, he made a video where he went hard on The Rising. And I'm admit, you know, being a teacher, I always look to the younger generation for lessons all the time. Even though as an old dog, I got my own lessons to give. You also look for the youngins to get to show you what's good. And then when Vaush started going in on them, I was like, damn, fool, you could do that? Sometimes you just need someone else to do it first. So that you feel like it's kind of like, you know, not to belittle it, but it's kind of almost like when people have abuse and there's multiple victims, and when they hear one victim come out, then the other ones are like, oh shit, like, it's time now, you know? So it's almost like, and like, again, not comparing myself to that, like I'm not a victim like that, but the thing where the other person coming out and saying something gives you the courage and gives you the strength to say some of the things you've been feeling for a long time. You're gonna hate me, a lot of folks. You're gonna hate me. I don't like Joe Rogan. Don't like him. So I know it's just gonna be divisive, but that's okay. I just don't. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it, and I have reasons and receipts. But Saagar and Saagar and Krystal on The Rising are his cheerleaders. They must rush. They're like a save-a-ho. They like just, I gotta come in with my cape. Ooh, I gotta save you. And it's like, oh, they're talking mean about my Joe Rogan. I mean, Joe Rogan, he's so rich and he's so powerful and so mediocre. I mean, like, he makes so much money. Like, why does he need everybody's defense? Why does, just, you know, if we don't like him and think he's a knucklehead, like, let us have that. Come on, let us have that. You have more money than us. You can put out more content. I just want to tell the world he sucks and people listen to me. Gosh darn it. Okay.
Some very interesting news about Joe Rogan's podcast and Spotify.
Don't you like, you kind of bounce to that? That's kind of a banger right there. Let's bang out that one again.
Some very interesting news about Joe Rogan's podcast and Spotify. As we covered earlier, there were some problems with some...
I'm friends with Saagar on Twitter.
Spotify employees in revolt over Rogan's podcast in general. Well,
oh my goodness. Is this a proletariat revolt? Ooh, intrigued. Must learn more.
We can learn from digital media outlet. Let's throw that up there on the screen. Some Spotify employees.
Some Spotify employees. Some. That sounds spine tingly-dingly. Sounds like some breaking news.
Are demanding direct editorial oversight over Joe Rogan's podcast before they are published. So that would include, according to this, content flags, trigger warnings, references to fact-checked information, or seemingly refusing to publish an episode.
Wait a second.
Pretty amazing.
Oh,
so
wait a second. What is this tyranny that I'm hearing about, Saagar? You need to say that again, bro.
Seemingly refusing to publish an episode at all. Pretty amazing.
Oh
so
my God.
what we
Let's see. I'm sorry, I missed it. Let's go back.
Trigger would include, according to this, Joe Rogan's podcast before they are published. So that would include, according to this, content flags, trigger warnings, references to fact-checked information, or seemingly refusing to publish an episode at all. Pretty information or seemingly refusing to publish an episode.
Okay, so there's two things. So, a content flag, in case you say something, you know, that's whatever, controversial or something scary, spine-tingling, a trigger warning, in case you're talking about, like, murders or rape or something gory. These are pretty standard things that are, like, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to podcasts with subject matter that is way darker than, Joe Rogan's podcast, like people getting hurt, and they have trigger warnings. So if even people like me who like true crime and people and stories where people are getting raped and murdered, right? And I'm okay with a trigger warning. What's the big deal if Joe Rogan has one? Whatever, I don't know. Maybe a trigger warning will completely ruin his show. I don't know. Maybe just it'll be the show went from like all these views to we're down in the dumps now because we put a trigger warning in front, or a content flag, trigger warning. And then what? Well, like you want Joe Rogan to reference shit before he just says stuff like Antifa starts forest fires? He should fact check that. My goodness, the world is coming to an end. These freaking proletariat revolutionaries, and they're wanting fact checking. Why can't he just have Gavin McInnes on and just say whatever the fuck Gavin McInnes wants to say? Why must he be fact checked? This is terrible. And they're censoring all the alt-righters. This is horrible, Saagar. Oh, I'm so angry. I'm angry with you. Look at his face, man. Look at the anger on his... You don't look very angry. Anyway, it was...
Episode at all. Pretty amazing.
Oh,
so
my God,
what we
poor
know,
Joe.
I know, poor guy. All indications...
Oh, poor Joe. Can you imagine... I remember growing up in the 80s, right? And basketball players would sign 100. Imagine saying, imagine when, okay, so let's go back into the days when the NBA wanted to have a dress rule. They were like, too many tattoos showing and too much cornrows. You must now change your dress code so when you show up to the games, you show up as a professional. Imagine if then we had started, and people who are making hundreds of millions of dollars, like an NBA player, started crying to the public about having to wear fancy clothes to the game. How do you think someone like Saagar would care? What do you think Saagar would say if the NBA imposed a dress code? What do you think he would say if Saagar was back in those days and they imposed a dress code on the NBA? Do you think he would be crying like, oh my gosh, look at these people they'd be like, these guys are making $100 million. The conservatives cry when friggin' Kaepernick be kneeling. And you don't even need to look at that, right? And they crying about that. These are people who actually work with him, are saying, look, dog, if we're going to be working on the show, just like fact check that shit. Why is that objectionable? They're not saying we want to write your shit. They're just saying don't say dumb shit that we have our name on. I don't know. Maybe they have their names associated with them. They don't want your lies and your every time someone cries about Antifa, you like run quick to the camera to go cry about it with them. Like have Andy Ngo and Tim Pool, and you have like a little cry session about the death of Western civilization because of Antifa, because you're anti-fascist.
So far are that the Spotify CEO has basically told the employees to shove it, but according to the digital music.
Yes, the man told the employees to shove it. You employees, shut the fuck up. And these people pretend to stand for the working man. That's the Rising. Little wolf in sheep's clothing, pretend that like, oh, we're all about the working man. Look at this segment. This is so anti-worker. They're like, go fuck yourself, man. These workers are trying to take down poor Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan. Oh goodness, you're trying to take him down. You employees. You evil proletariat revolutionaries.
News. There have been over 10 meetings inside Spotify all around.
Yeah, why not? This is what happens when you sign a $100 million deal. It comes with rules and stipulations. Did you not know that, Saagar? Did you not know that? Have you not ever studied any standard entertainment contracts throughout time immemorial? Like, if I sign a new movie deal to act in a movie, can I just show up when the fuck I want, or do I have to show up at the designated times? Oh, that's tyranny. They're not letting me act when I want to act. They're not letting me say the lines that I want to say. No, you got to read the script. We're paying you. You read the script. Okay, but Joe Rogan's show isn't necessarily reading a script, but they're still going to have some guidelines. Nobody in America gets a $100 million contract to do anything without some rules and regulations and stipulations and guidelines. You sign the contract, you have an agent, you have a manager. Y'all knew this shit before y'all signed it. So don't act surprised now after you done got the check that now there's some rules. Y'all knew it beforehand. No one signs that kind of money and then is ambushed with rules. You have enough money at that point, if you're dealing in $100 million deals, to take that deal before you sign it to a lawyer and make sure everything you want in that deal is what you want. You negotiate. You don't just sign $100 million right off there. It's not like a regular job where they're like, oh, you start on Wednesday and we pay you. No, you go negotiate. That's how we got the $100 million. They don't just come to that money out of nowhere. They negotiated for it. So the whole thing where he wouldn't know like what stipulations he has, give me a break. Saagar, come on. He's like a bigger actor than I am. And I was a theater arts major, man. Look at this guy. Oh, the outrage of the proletariat.
Around Rogan's problematic decisions. These people...
Yeah, Rogan does make problematic decisions. The guy's a meathead. Can we not at least admit that? His show is popular. That's great. We can talk about why his show is popular later, whatever, that's a whole nother topic, but we'll give it to him. His show is popular. So, okay, great. But he's kind of a meathead, and he kind of appeals to like a crass demographic. And sometimes when you appeal to that, you're going to walk along the edge. And if you're signing $100 million deals with companies that are trying to pose themselves as family friendly and shit, like, you know, to a degree, right? Obviously, Spotify has all sorts of content, but you're going to get some rules, man. They're not going to just let you start having like Gavin McGinnis come on anymore. Those days are over. Once he's, all of you alt-writers, once he signed that Spotify deal, all the days of that shit are over. The best you're going to do is Ben Shapiro. So all the days of like putting the, you're going to have to fake it like the end. You're going to have to put them on before we know what they are. Once we know what they are, they ain't going to let them back on. You know? Took Joe Rogan, how many times did Dave Rubin come on? Any reasonable person would have heard Dave Rubin once, maybe twice, and known this guy is an idiot. Anna Kasparin from the Young Turks had interpersonal experience with Dave Rubin, told you, this guy's no good, he a grifter. Oh, don't listen to her. He just wants to go make fun of the Young Turks for whatever reason. Fuck them. They're a bunch of SJWs. So don't listen to Anna Kasparin. No. Don't listen to the how many times he came onto your thing. He'd been coming on for years before Joe Rogan's like, you know what? He's kind of grifty. Like, just shut up, bro. You done had Candace Owens. You done had Milo Yiannopoulos. You done had Richard Spencer. You done had them all, bro. You just platform these fools and then act like you don't know what's good. Okay, come on, let's go, Saagar. Let's talk about this proletariat revolution.
Are the biggest narcissists on the planet. They are, I mean, these people are the biggest narcissists on the planet.
He's talking about unnamed employees that nobody knows. But he knows this much, though. I don't know their names, don't know anything about them, but I know this much.
Planet. They are, I mean, they're trying to on the planet. They are, I mean, they're trying to destroy what makes the product so great. Yeah.
Look at the hyperbolicness. Look at the hyperbole of this man. Like, the biggest narcissists on the planet. They're trying to destroy. Yeah, super pro worker, man. No, you're just telling it like it is. Defend the $100 million man, because he needs it. He really, in his time of need, right? He needs you. In his when they were trying to tell the man that they were paying $100 million, we're gonna have to like have a little few cuts and edits on your show, homie. That's, you know, and no, the tyranny. Oh, but riding in on their cavalry came Saagar and Jetty and Crystal Ball. Dun, 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 dun. No, Joe Rogan, I will save you from these wretched, narcissistic employees bent on destroying everything you've built. Oh,
and it's just utterly ridiculous. Which is, oh, all of a sudden, like they need to
tell him, Saagar.
I mean,
you tell him, Saagar. Oh, I get so, I don't know, torqued when he starts going at the workers. Oh, I get so, and I need some oils.
I could go through on Spotify right now and find 10 times more other problematic lyrics in songs. Do they go and...
Okay, Saagar, let me explain to you how Spotify works. Let me give you a little basics of Spotify. When you're an independent artist like me, and I want to make some, let's say I want to come out with some ratchety, dripped out P word, ratchetest, orgies singing while I'm snorting lines off of driving my thing down the highway drunk. I can do that because I'm an independent artist, and Spotify has not signed me to a contract, which I signed. Okay, so there's no agreement other than you put your freaking content on our site, and the attention that you get from your content being on our site will attract ad revenue for us, and that's all good. That's a free deal. You benefit from being on our platform. We benefit from the viewers that you drive. You don't need to put stipulations on that type of media, right? They're not paying those people, those independent artists, money. If anything, those independent artists, they need that pile of media to start their company and make them profitable. With the Joe Rogans, who they are giving 100, they're not saying this is a different deal than an independent artist, Saagar. This isn't like, oh, I'm on Spotify now just because I have a cranking tune that I want to put on my podcast who nobody knows. This is a known commodity who they're like, we are paying you money to bring clout to our platform, and we're going to give you the clout of our Spotify. But with that comes some rules and regulations. Saagar, simple, simple, simple. I thought you were the Republican, the business people. That's simple. Like, just study Spotify's business. If you studied Spotify's business for 2 seconds, you'd know that. It's not actually that complicated a business model. So for him to be now saying like, oh, there's all this other content and all this other things, they don't have deals. I can go listen to ratchety rappers right now, because that's what he's talking about. He's talking about WAP and stuff like that. They don't have deals with Spotify. Their music is just on their platform at Spotify's pleasure, so they can profit off the artist, and the artist can profit off whatever Spotify's exposure gives them. That's all it is. But when you sign a deal specifically to do exclusive content on your platform, it's completely different. What, you know what I'm saying, Saagar? But you don't. Come on now. That doesn't tie in with your ideology. So why study the facts?
And do they censor lyrics in songs? I mean, go look at some of the stuff, the smut which is in the top 100. And hey, whatever, free speech. But like, okay, so
it's not a free speech issue. It has nothing to do with free speech. Again, we're talking about the business model of Spotify. This is not free speech. This is a company that you're dealing with that's paying you $100 million. Has nothing. There is no free speech when you're getting a $100 million contract. It doesn't exist. You have to follow rules. You can't just sign $100 million as an NFL quarterback and go throw wherever you want and do, I just do wherever I wanted to throw, man. Why are you trying to make me throw to the receivers and shit? I just want to throw interceptions all day. Like, no, man. But I still want the same money. But no, you're expected to do certain things. They're not just like, oh, just keep doing what you were doing before. No, do what you were doing before. We like that, but we're gonna have some notes for you. and I love it how they put it all on the employees. Like the employees have some undue power to change Joe Rogan's show. These narcissists run amok. This proletariat revolution run rampant.
So then you're gonna go after Joe Rogan on his podcast and demand fact checks and trigger warnings and all.
My gosh, the tyranny. Demand a fact check. Demand that Joe Rogan check what he's saying before he says it. Say, Joe Rogan, please, if you're going to put out content with our $100 million price tag we've given you, please just check the things you say before. Don't just say things. Can you just at least do that? The tyranny! The tyranny! These narcissistic employees want to take down Western civilization. I cannot... Oh, these employees.
And all this other nonsense. I mean, it is just
these fat cat employees with their break room and their lunches and their fridges that you're not allowed to steal if they've written their names on it, and their cubicles and their passwords to unlock their computers. You've just given them too much, and now they just want these socialists. Oh.
Just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I'm very glad to see the CEO.
Asking for fact checks and putting in trigger warnings is the most ridiculous thing that Saagar has ever seen. There, he said it. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. These freaking trigger warnings in shit, man. Fucking A. These trigger warnings. How about like just being just as a solid, why don't you just have a trigger warning every time you put Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro? Don't worry, we're gonna suggest that black people are inherently violent for 3 hours straight. They should put that trigger warning in there. Then I could be like, oh, that's cool. I don't need to watch something that tells me my culture is inherently gonna do. Actually, shit, I gotta go do some crime right now. I'll be back.
Standing up to his employees, but beware, people. These are the people that control what you see, what you hear, how we digest our information, and it scares the hell out.
These employees are controlling everything, and that scares me. These proletariats trying to uprise and dictate what the masters are saying. That is the most scary thing. Saagar, I dare say you are a fucking snowflake of epic proportions. That is the most snowflaked shit I've ever heard. That is pathetic, man. Like, that is weak. Weak. I'll see you on Twitter, bro.
Out of me.
Well, I think your point is the right one, which is like the whole reason that Joe's podcast.
Shut up, Krystal. Saagar doesn't make any good points. And watch. See, I want to like Krystal, but when she says shit like, I've watched this video before, and I made a video on it before, but I was just starting out and I sucked. But like, not to say that I don't still suck, but I've seen this before, and like Krystal, like, this is a terrible point. I'm just priming you up. I am trying to propagandize your mind to understand this is a bad point to make.
Is so popular is because it hasn't been just completely like sanitized and made to fit into this very narrow lane of conversation.
Okay, what she means by it hasn't been sanitized, it means they allow Nazis. Yay! They allow Nazis. Look. If I'm making content just out of my sheer feelings of anger, of the shit that's happened, and like I said, my anger is the one that wants to give you a bootstrap and wants to help people who need help. When I see these things talking about being anti-worker and stuff, I'm like, like what is going on here?
Sanitized and made.
And sanitized. Again, like, when you put right-wing Nazis, let's just alt-righters, whatever, people who are like Western shit, when you put them on your platform, you are making that shit look like it's a reasonable, it's just, hey, I just want an ethno-state. It's just another opinion. That's not a fucking other opinion. Like, I could shoot you in your face or I could not shoot you in your face. There's no opinions. Like, one, you're gonna die, one, you're not. So there's no opinions. There's no choice there, okay? Some things are not a choice. Choosing between an ethno-state and not is only a choice if you're white supremacist. For everyone who's not on white supremacist, that is not a reasonable choice, So when you have a Gavin McInnes and these Proud Boys and these fools go on your show, he even had Gavin McInnes say, yeah, violence is dope. You should do violence. And then he still capes for this fool. And then he still cries about Antifa. He cries about being an anti-fascist all the time. Like, the idea of being an anti-fascist, man. And then, like, that's what Trump says all day.
Made to fit into this very narrow lane of conversation, like bland media, prepackaged.
Oh, yes. And that's another note. In America, there is a tremendous tradition. If you want to make money and you have no talent, I'm going to give you some advice. And this is terrible advice because someone might hear this and actually take this to heart and do this. And this would be horrible. But this is true. You don't need me to figure this out. Anytime you want to talk shit off people of color, gay people, you can make money real quicker than you can talking about free lunch programs for kids. If I got on here and started saying 1350, the FBI shows black people are more inherently violent, blah, 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 and saying things, black people need to pull their pants up, man, and these black people, it's their culture, man, and they gotta quit with the raps and they pull up their boot. I know all the things, because I grew up in a, now you might think, oh, because my skin is brown, that you can't be racist. Oh, you can be racist, but here's the key, here's the kicker. When I say racist, I really just mean white supremacists. Were my parents white supremacists? Kind of. They kind of like, defer to white shit and look down on black people. Hey, it's just what it is. There are black people that are white supremacists that buy into the idea that like white shit is the best shit and black people are inherently dysfunctional. It exists. That mentality exists. So yes, everybody can be racist. Everyone can be white supremacist. Yay! Bum, 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 bum. Everyone can be. Yes, Candace Owens, you can be a white supremacist too. Jesse Lee Peterson, you can be a white supremacist too. Diamond and Silk, yes, you can be a white supremacist too. We got places for all of you. You can be a Jew, Ben Shapiro, come, we welcome all. You can be a gay, Dave Rubin, and Blair White. You can even be a trans, as long as you talk shit about the other ones. Oh, we love it. You can be a gay, you can be a black, whatever. You can even have bounced that basketball as long as you're willing to. Charles Barkley, oh, we love you so much. Herschel Walker, please. Shaquille O'Neal, just say the cops are great. Say black people suck and that it's their fault. But don't say it just kind of, dog whistle to us. And I could make a lot of money. I'm very articulate. I'm very eloquent with my words. If I just wanted to start a YouTube channel tomorrow saying that, I would get way more views than I would talking about the shit I like to talk about and the brand of humor that I like to talk about. But that's some craven ass shit. And that's some untalented shit, And it's like, that's not the way to go. It's just not the way to do it. And so I think that the people on the Hill, the Rising, Krystal and Saagar, they are just about that bag. They want that cash. Look at her face. You could tell by these still frames that she's towing a line right now. She's towing that like I'm pretending to be progressive, but I really just full-throatedly trash Democrats and kind of mildly trash Republicans.
Conversation that you get everywhere else, where if you go to the outlet, you basically know what you're going to get. You know what the opinions are going to be. It's incredibly repetitive. It is a riskier podcast, right? From the guests that he has on, the conversations that he's willing to engage in, all of those things. Yeah, and that's exactly why it's so popular and why people like it.
It's popular because it's risky. So then let's all just do some risky shit. That'll be popular. I'm going to do some risky shit. I'm going to do a podcast and put all of my money into a podcast about lemons. And I'm going to buy property up north, near the Canadian border. And I'm going to start to grow lemons, and I'm going to make a YouTube show. And I'm going to sink every piece of money that I have in my account into this lemon orchard, up north. And even though I know the climate isn't great for oranges, and I know I'd be taking a big risk, that's why it's going to fucking be dope, because of the risk. That's why, because of the risk. You see what I'm saying? This orchard that I'm going to grow, these lemon trees that I'm going to grow, they're going to be dope because of the risk. That's why it's going to be good, because I took a risk. Can you have like a little more thorough, nuanced analysis? And that's not why things are good because you took a risk. There are reasons why his show is popular, and you could actually go into it, but you don't want to, because you'd have to say when you talk against people of color, you get a lot of views. There's a lot of white people who are freaking game for that message. They just are. It is what it is. Like if I started something that said black people are inherently shitty, people would love it. Like you can pretend that that's not the case, but it's the case. Like we know. Why Candace Owens is popular? She's not smart. Like if Diamond and Silk were saying some lefty shit, do you know how much ridicule and how stupid they would be called, and how what all kinds of names that they would be called, and how their intelligence would be ridiculed and the way they speak would be ridiculed? But as long as they're saying conservative stuff, that will never happen to them. So I can see it. It's like could almost be a trauma response in a lot of people of color. It's like that like these horrible people who treat you shitty, if you just say what they want, they'll stop treating you shitty. And a lot of people of color make that calculation, unfortunately.
Love it. I can't imagine anything worse than some committee of disgruntled employees wanting to have you say over all of your editorial content and trigger warnings. We're going to put in fact checks, and maybe we're going to pull the episode all together. I mean, a couple other pieces here that
again, can you imagine Crystal Ball with her children? And she looks like the most suburban safety warning regulation type of lady there is. I mean, I'm just stereotyping, but look at their office. It looks so gentry and lovely and pristine, and they're crying about trigger warnings. You are literally the elites of society. And they're crying about trigger warnings. There are people on the streets that have to face untold horrors every single day. And you're sitting in a luxury studio, unabused. No one's ever abused you. You've had a great life, and you're crying that someone who might be a victim of sexual abuse or have been a victim of some crimes, and they're listening to a podcast and they need a trauma warning so that they can choose to stay away from that piece of media. That is a problem. as opposed to the conservative who will watch a show where people, two dudes are kissing and then start crying. Maybe you needed a trigger warning. Maybe you need a trigger warning and say, hey, this show has some gayness in it, and if you don't want to watch that, you can not. So then you don't have to cry later that you were really into the show, and then it all fell apart when the two guys were in love. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so maybe even some of your buddies, Saagar, your older folks could use trigger warnings in a lot of media, because I see them crying so much. When you listen to C-SPAN and listen to callers in on C-SPAN, you get these folks being like, yeah, man, why they always got to shove this shit in my face? Why they got to put their agenda in my face? Well, honey, maybe you just needed a trigger warning. Say, hey, there might be gayness. And if you a little snowflake to it, you want to watch something else where it's manly and impulsive. Not sensitive. We don't want that sensitive love shit. You know what I mean? So maybe trigger warnings might not be a bad thing, especially for some of your homies who always complain about cultural shit. Maybe they needed a trigger warning. Hey, Colin Kaepernick's about to kneel for the anthem. Oh, don't have a meltdown. Like, you know, go get a coffee break or something, or go get your own flag and jerk into it. You know, it's because you don't want to see the Colin Kaepernick kneeling. It's like the cameras chose to show him. They could have not. They could have been like, oh, he's kneeling. Let's not show him and let's show people who are standing. But they chose to like make it a thing and like put him in the spotlight like that anyway. So when it comes to like trigger warnings and stuff, don't act like, you know, people don't need them. People need them. They're fine. I don't know why. Like, what is this thing? Like, these are the most luxuried elite people in society. They're like they're in the upper bracket of society. This fool's like 28 years old and he's pushing darn near to be a millionaire, and he's crying about trigger warnings. Like you're so soft, Saagar. Like, you and me in a room alone, bro, you'd be crying. I'd put you over my knee, bro, and have you in tears. So stop with the trigger warning. You of any people, these people need the most protection in society. People on the streets are hard. You guys aren't.
But of course, we've been talking about is, number one, some of his podcasts, the library, some of them were missing. They removed some of the more controversial episodes. Some of them were like understandable. I think Alex Jones was taken out. Like, some of them you were kind of like, okay, I see why they made that.
Why take out Alex Jones? Why? See. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, she's like, oh, some rules are okay. Well, oh, some rules are okay. So so here's the more important question, Krystal and Saagar. Do you think that Joe Rogan knew before he signed that contract, that after this contract was signed, that he might have to take those type of episodes down? And not only take some episodes down, that there were other stipulations that he'd have to adhere to get that cash, to get that bag, right? Everyone got to make a compromise when they make bags big enough. But this segment will never talk about that. They won't even talk about how the business of Spotify works, because they don't know. For all the money and for all their scenery and their execution, they can't even tell you how Spotify works, to be like, when you sign a deal, there are rules. There is always going to be rules. It's like, come on. And again, you're supposed to be fighting for regular people, so it makes you guys now look like a bunch of grifters. Saagar is a grifter. Saagar is a freaking Nazi. Okay, so forget about him. But Krystal, you kind of like, I don't know, but she kind of, when you see segments like this,
decision, and others you're like, wait, this person, why? Yeah. It was just sort of inexplicable. And then you also had the situation last week that I don't think we talked about here, but there was this conspiracy that the Oregon wildfires had been sparked by left-wing activists, like setting fires, and this was running.
No, say Antifa like he said, because he's obsessed with Antifa. Say Antifa like Joe Rogan said Antifa. Not left-wing activists. They didn't say it's Antifa. Just say it, because that's what he said. Because he want Antifa to do so much, because it's not Joe Rogan that's making up that Antifa's this bad thing. It's us that's pretending we're inundated by white supremacy. It's not even really a thing. Tim Pool said it wasn't. So it must be, and he's a liberal.
Running rampant in right-wing media. Joe said something about it on the show. Instantly, everyone's like, oh my God, you can't say that because it's not true, But he came.
Okay, that's what we're talking about with fact checking. Why with all the money that he makes, can he not check that before his show starts? What research does Joe Rogan do before his show? Does he just freaking walk in and just like, oh, let's just go? Like, he doesn't do any research? Watch Vlad TV and watch an interview with Vlad TV. At least this fool will research the person's life, where the person he's interviewing is like, oh, a lot of times Vlad will get the person in the interview like, damn, you don't research my life. Joe Rogan, he just saying shit. Like what is the problem with doing a little research before you say some shit? What is the problem with, if there was a fire, going to the police reports and just looking at what the police report says? Maybe even calling the police, get your homie Jamie to call the police department in that county and get a statement from him if you can. And then tell your audience, yeah, we tried to get a statement when we couldn't. But when we get more information on who actually started fire, we'll give you more. Nah, Joe Rogan's like, nah, someone told me Antifa, and I hate Antifa because I hate SJW, so it's Antifa. Let's just roll. Oh, but he apologized. He said he was sorry. Do you think the people who want to believe that it's Antifa give a shit about his apology, or you think they're just saying the deep state made him say no or something? Like, it doesn't matter. He knows how that shit works. This is why Joe Rogan is popular, because he appeals to that segment of the population. That's why. It's not because it's risky. Like my lemon farm, my risky lemon farm. Oh no, it's super successful because of the big risk. No, it's not the big risk. There's real actual reasons you can analyze why his show is popular, but they don't want to do that because then they'd lead them to say, oh, he's popular because he has knucklehead grifting right-wing Nazi alt-right dog whistlers, and people freaking love that shit. Oh, Tim Pool's views are just tremendous, and all he does is just rage about Democrats. That's all he really, or what, I don't know. He seems to just rage about like establishment Democrats and pretend that he is a Democrat also. And that's what I'm saying. Like when you say I'm like gay and you rage on gay people, I'm black and I rage on black people, I'm a Democrat and I rage on Democrats. Oh, that's the juicy milk. The grift. It's the grift. The grift can make you some loot.
Came out with like an abject apology.
Yeah.
He apologized. These freaking narcissistic employees want to actually make him do the fact check first so he doesn't have to apologize later. What the heck, man? I like my podcast hosts manly and impulsive. Just say it. Antifa. What? It wasn't Antifa? Ah, my bad. But Antifa attacked Andy. No. Tim Pool says Antifa sucks. Richard Spencer hates Antifa. Manly, impulsive.
You know, to try to make it right. But yeah, I just can't imagine how much it would change the character of the show to have this.
Fact checking and trigger warnings would just change the character of this show. It would change everything to have a 20 to 10 to 5 second segment saying, even when you watch cops on TV, they're like, hey, some of the images are graphic in nature and may not be suitable for children. That's a trigger warning. Did you know that, right? That's a trigger warning. That's telling you, hey, you're about to watch some rowdy stuff. If it's not for kids, or you know people who wouldn't be into this, this is your opportunity to leave now so you're not offended. I think that's highly reasonable. I think that's totally a way to cover your back. If someone is offended by the material, you'll say, hey, homie, we had a little trigger warning before. We said if you don't like it, don't watch it. This involves gayness. This involves fighting. This involves black people doing shit, giving their opinion. Trigger warning, advised. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay. Then you could be like, oh, it's not for me. Like, I don't know why that is such a, like, the end of Western ethno-civilization.
This type of, you know, fact check by committee and guardrails put on.
Fact check by committee. That sounds horrible. Have many people... see, again, fact check by committee would sound horrible if you make up facts, but if you're actually taking facts to be like empirical data, then I don't see what's wrong with having multiple people look it up. Because you might have facts that are like slightly varied, and like having 3 different people check those facts, you might find slight variations. You could be like, okay, well, what are the things that are most common, and we can leave those things, and the variations we can leave out and say, hey, there are some variations. Here are links to where you can look that up yourself. What is the problem with this? What is the problem with putting footnotes to the information you referenced? No, because he wants to run a podcast where he just says shit. And because it's more popular to run a podcast where you say shit where then you say factual stuff. That's not as exciting as saying Antifa is running around, taking back the night, starting forest fires.
On the program, it just wouldn't be the same show.
It would ruin it, and it just goes to show that these people want to ruin everything good in all of our lives.
I just love Saagar. These people, they just want to ruin everything good in all of our lives. Sorry, these people. It's like he can say that shit with a straight face. That is some fucking, that is like some theater arts shit, bro. Like this guy was an actor. This guy is an actor. This is epic. This is talent. This is fucking talented, dude. This guy could be in a movie. He really could be.
Of, fact check by committee.
Saagar is a dope actor. He's a dope actor.
Guardrails put on the program. It just wouldn't be the same show.
It would ruin it, and it just goes to show that these people want to ruin everything good in all of our lives. So anyway, that's the update. Thank God.
He's like, they want to ruin everything, and then his end is like, oh well, that's that's how you sound when everything in your life is ruined. You're like, they want to ruin everything. Oh well. Let's move on to the next. Look at Krystal's face after saying like everything has been ruined. She's literally like, haha, we grifted. We made some money on this segment, bro. Like we got some views full off some bullshit. That is fucking. You know what? Now I'm a believer. This grift is fucking tremendous. They are incredible. This is actually a really good video. Like if you this is like Joe Rogan light. It's like doing some Joe Rogan shit without having to have a straight Nazi on your shit. Like that is gangster. Let's see. 200,000 views on that video. It came out in September, so it came out like a month ago, which is like the Stone Age in the internet time. But who cares? I like going into the past because I'm a historian. All right, I fancy myself as an amateur one. So we're going into the history vault, my nieces and nephews. This is freaking awesome. This is amazing. This is just like, let's go to the comment section. This is dope. Censorship is for children. If you're an adult and you don't like it, don't watch. Rogan doesn't need a fact checker. He has Jamie to do it. Ha 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 ha. Oh my gosh. I could see why Alex Jones was censored, but not the other stuff. So he's like one of those Krystal, like, you should just censor things that make me uncomfortable. They should be ex-Spotify employees. Rogan does not need Spotify employees. What the fuck is Spotify anyway? Again, someone who clearly doesn't know how Spotify is... the business model of Spotify. I am a liberal. I'm concerned that some other liberals are becoming authoritarian. Oh my God, I want to go into this one. Let me go into this one. All right, let's go into it. Same here. Okay, so you agree. Same. This doesn't get said enough. Honestly, sadly, those are liberals who are running the show right now, and I'm kind of worried. Authoritarian spelling. You cannot be an authoritarian liberal. That's a paradox. We're living in the era of fake liberals, fake patriots, fake Democrats, fake socialists, and now we have fake freedom fighters. They are using liberal ideology to cover their arrogance and greed of power. I don't know what that means. Good way of putting it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, that was very, very uninspiring, very uninteresting. Nothing juicy, no shit talking there. They all agreed with that. That's not a good point. Worst case scenario, he comes back to YouTube and Spotify loses. Ha ha ha! Again, you don't know how Spotify makes its money, dude. Do you understand that they had the fact that they had the hundreds of millions to give him in the first place means that they make tons of money off of free content? The shitty podcast that like 5 people, 6 people listen, doesn't matter. Brings people to Spotify. All that free content that people submit to Spotify is how Spotify makes the vast majority of its money. So much so that they were able to pay Knucklehead, Fear Factor, Joe Rogan $100 million. Again, it's like they always will tell you, a lot of people, like, you don't know how business works. They're like, none of these people know the economics of Spotify. You can actually, there are plenty of YouTube videos to show you how the economics of Spotify works, so you understand Joe Rogan's deal. When you watch Saagar and Jetty and Krystal Ball, they don't teach you shit. They're just like, these employees suck. They like, you have a whole segment and you can teach me about how Spotify makes its money, make references to these things. They're like, no, let's just complain about some nonsense. OMG. OM Jizzle.
To Spotify, Daniel Elk, I salute you.
All right, tomorrow on Rising, Tara Palmieri is going to discuss season...
Oh, we don't care about that. So there you go. This is the pro-worker, proletariat fighting for the regular people. We're just regular people. Both sides of the aisle see the absurdity. But I mean, come on, fool. Like, Saagar and Krystal are some elitists. They just are. and they pretend they're not, and they're having a grand old time in their little air-conditioned studio. It's just so calm and relaxed. And Saagar, follow him on Twitter. He's just a pure delight. I'm just what a man, what a mighty big-brained man. So yeah. So I don't know. I would say if you are watching The Rising and thinking it's some both sides stuff, it's really